This is another lesson on inequalities. Let's look. It's a multi-step inequalities. Number 1. 3 is less than negative 5n plus 2n. Okay, our first step is going to be to combine the variables. They're both on the same side, so we need to combine the variables. So we're going to combine. Okay, we have a negative 5n plus 2n. So 3 is less than. Negative 5 plus 2 would be negative 3n. And this is just knowing your integers. If you have negative 5, 2 of these positives will cancel out 2 of the negatives, and you're left with a 3n. So then our next step would be to divide. I want to get n by itself. The only way to get n by itself is to do the opposite operation. Well, it's multiplying for the negative 3. So to do the opposite, we need to divide by negative 3. Okay, remember from the part 1 of integers that there's a rule when you multiply or divide with a negative, this sign switches. You have to remember that. So I've divided by a negative. I'm going to switch my sign, flip it. Negative 3 over negative 3 canceled out, which is what I wanted because I wanted n by itself. 3 divided by a negative 3 is going to be a negative 1. And we want the variable to be on the left-hand side. So if I want my variable to be on the left-hand side, I got to flip everything. So n is less than negative 1. And now you have to graph that on your paper. Okay, we talked again in the first lesson of inequalities that you're going to find negative 1 on your graph and ask yourself, can n be negative 1? It cannot be negative 1, so I simply want to circle it. It can be less than negative 1. So with my variable on the left-hand side, I can draw my arrow pointing to the variable. Okay, whatever this is pointing toward when your variable's on the left-hand side, that's the way it's going to go on the graph. And because it cannot be a negative 1, we leave the circle open. Let's look at number 2. We have 6x plus 2 plus 6x is less than 14. Okay, so we have some like terms here. Our variables are on the same side, so we're going to combine. We have 6x plus 6x, which becomes 12x, plus 2 is less than 14. Then I need to get my whole numbers together on this one side. And we can continue to put this line down like we do during just our equations. So we know that we have to do things to each side. So if I have a positive 2 and I want to get it over here to this side, to cancel this out, I need to subtract 2. So your next step was add or subtract, and you have to do it to both sides. This cancels out, so I'm left with 12x is less than. If you have a positive 14 and you have two negatives, it's going to cancel out two positives. You're left with 12. But I'm still wanting to get x by itself. And I ask myself, what is it doing to 12? It's multiplying. So you have to do the opposite, which is divide. Divide by 12. Divide by 12. This cancels out, becomes 1. And it was a positive 12, so my sign stays the same. And 12 over 12 is 1. To graph this, you ask yourself, can x be 1? And it cannot be 1. So I'm going to circle it, and my x is on the left-hand side, so the arrow is going to go this way right here. Okay? So you could say, well, x can't be 1. Could it be 0? Because 0 is less than 1. Yeah. Could it be 2? 2 would be greater than 1. So it can't be 2. You have to go this way. Okay, let's look at number 3. Have negative p, negative 4p is greater than negative 10. Okay, I want to combine, first step, combine my p's. So a negative p plus a negative 4p, I'm combining negatives, so it's going to be a bigger negative. Nothing cancels out. It's going to be a negative 5p is greater than a negative 10. Next step, I've got to either multiply or divide. And since p is multiplying negative 5, I have to do the opposite to cancel it out. So opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by negative 5. Remember the rule. If you divide by a negative or multiply by a negative, you must flip your sign. So I'm going to flip it now so I don't forget. This cancels out. P is going to be less than, and a negative 10 divided by negative 5, negative divided by a negative becomes a positive 2. So on our paper, we ask ourselves, P is less than 2. Can P be 2? No, it's not. It cannot be 2. So I'm going to circle it. And which way is the direction of the arrow going to go? P is less than 2. Is 1 less than 2? Yes. Okay, number 4. $18 greater than equal to 5k plus 4k. So again, I'm going to combine whatever I can, and I can combine my k's. They're on the same side. So 5k plus 4k is going to equal 9k. Is less than or equal to 18. And so then you need to divide or multiply. And since it is multiplying, I want to do the opposite. And I want to divide. So 18 divided by 9 would be 2 is greater than equal to k, because 9 over 9 cancels out. And remember, we want the variable on the left-hand side. So to get k over here, I have to flip everything. K is less than, equal to 2. So k is less than, equal to 2. Can k be 2? Can k equal 2? It can because of this line right here. Okay? So we find 2 and we color it in because it can be 2. It can be less than or equal to 2. Could it be 1? 1's less than 2, so it's going to go this way. Okay, let's look at number 5. Nine is greater than, equal to, negative 2m plus 2 minus 3. So again, our first step would be to combine whatever we can combine. Right here we have 2 whole numbers, so let's rewrite this and combine those whole numbers. Plus a positive 2 minus 3. It's going to be a minus 1. So now I need to get 1 on the other side. Still want to get my whole numbers together, so I'm still going to combine. To cancel it out on this side, I must add 1. And that cancels out. So again, if you like drawing the line down, do that. And we're going to add 1 to this side. Because whatever you do to this side, you must do to this side. So 9 plus 1 is 10 is greater than or equal to a negative 2m. Remember, the next step would be to multiply or divide because I want to get m by itself. And to get m by itself, I have to divide by negative 2 because m is multiplying a negative 2. To cancel it out, you have to do the opposite. So the opposite of multiplication is division. Divide by negative 2. Remember the rule. The rule states I have to flip my sign because I divided by a negative. So let's flip the sign so I do not forget. And that cancels out. So that's 10 divided by a negative 2 is a negative 5. But we want everything on the left-hand side. We want the variable on the left-hand side. So we need to flip everything. Okay? M is greater than, equal to, negative 5. So when we go to graph it, m is greater than, equal to, a negative 5. Can m equal a negative 5? Yes, because of that line right there. So m can be a negative 5. Fill it in. Can it be a negative 6? No, because negative 6 is less than a negative 5. Could it be a negative 4, a 0, a 1? Yeah, because that's larger. So it's going this way. And also, remember the secret. If your variable is on the left-hand side, the arrow goes the direction of your inequality. Let's look at number 6. Negative 3, negative 6, 4x plus 6 greater than negative 111. Okay, we have to distribute first. We have to distribute. That's our first step because we have the parentheses. So negative 3, then you have a negative 6 times 4x. So that would be a negative 24x because a negative times a positive is a negative. keep the x. Negative 6 times a positive 6. Negative times a positive is a negative. 6 times 6 is 36, greater than a negative 111. So now we need to combine. Okay. I have two whole numbers here I can combine. So a negative 3 and a negative 36 becomes a negative 39. Two negatives, adding them together make a bigger negative. There's no cancellations. So let's bring down the negative 24x minus 39 is greater than a negative 111. So now we need to add or subtract. And we need to get negative 39 over to the other side. And again, if y'all like to keep your line down so you know to do it to both sides, that's great. So to make this a 0, to cancel it out, I need to add 39. Cancels out, add 39. What you do to this side, you must do to this side. I'm going to bring down my negative 24x is greater than, and you have a negative 111 plus 39. It's going to be negative because your negative is bigger, and then you just simply subtract them. But this one is your larger sign, so you're going to keep the sign and then subtract the 2. And that should give you a 72. And now I want to get x by itself, so you're going to multiply or divide. And x is multiplying, so I need to do the opposite, which is divide by negative 24 to both sides. Because I divided by a negative, I must switch my sign. Do that now before you forget. This cancels out. X is less than negative 72 divided by a negative 24. You should get a positive 3. Negative divided by a negative is always a positive. So let's look at our number line and let's graph it. Number 6 was x is less than 3. Can x be 3? No. So I'm going to circle it, and it has to be less. Is 2 less than 3 or is 4 less than 3? 2 is less. So we're going to go this way. And that is also the direction of my inequality. Number 7. We have 6 minus 4, 6n plus 7 is greater than or equal to 122. Okay, our first thing to do is to distribute. Okay. So you have 6 minus, okay, a negative 4 times 6. It's going to be 24. And it's a negative times a positive, so we keep the negative. Keep your n on there. Plus, negative 4 times a positive 7 is going to be a negative, because a negative times a positive is always a negative. 4 times 7 is 28. Greater than or equal to 122. Okay, so we're going to combine now. What can we combine? We have our integers that we can combine. So 6, positive 6, and a negative 28 becomes a negative 22. So I'm going to bring down my negative 24n plus my negative 22. Let's greater than, equal to 122. Okay, so I need to add or subtract. I have this negative over here. I need it to be a 0. I need to cancel it out, and I need to bring it down to my other side. What you do to one side, you must do to the other side. Remember that. So it's a negative. I want to add 22, and that cancels out. So we're going to add 22 to this side. I'm going to bring down a negative 24n is greater than or equal to, and then you simply add these two because they're both positive. Then you're going to multiply or divide. In this case, I think I need to divide because n is multiplying. You need to do the opposite. So you're going to divide by negative 24. Divide by negative 24. And when we crossed over for the negative of division, we have to flip our sign. So do that so you don't forget later. And then this cancels out. So n equals, and you have 144 divided by a negative 24, so it's going to be a negative 6. We look at our graph. N is less than or equal to a negative 6. Can n be 6? Can n be negative 6? Yes, because that little line tells us it can. So it's filled in because it can be negative 6. Is it less than negative 6 or greater than negative 6? So is negative 8 less than negative 6? Or is negative 4 less than negative 6? 8 is. So your arrow is going to go this way. And again, the secret, if your variable's on the left-hand side, the arrow goes the way of your inequality. Number 8. We have a negative 138 is greater than or equal to a negative 6. 6b minus 7. So we're going to distribute. Okay, negative 138 is greater than or equal to a negative 6 times positive 6 is a negative 36b. I have to keep my b on there. Negative 6 times a negative 7 becomes a positive 42. Negative times a negative is a positive. So I want to get my variable by itself. So are we going to add or subtract? I need this to cancel out. So I need to subtract 42 to cancel that out. What I do to this side, I must do to this side. So a negative 42. Now I have two negatives. Remember, two negatives make a bigger negative because nothing cancels out. Negative 180 is greater than equal to a negative 36b. I want to get b by itself, so I need to do the opposite. It's multiplying. I need to divide. That canceled out. A negative 180 divided by a negative 36. Negative divided by a negative becomes a positive 5. So on number 8, 5 is greater than equal. Ooh, no. I forgot something. I knew it didn't look right. See, when I take the negative over, if you don't change the sign when you're taking it over, it's that easy to forget. Okay? So when you bring the negative over, go ahead and change your sign before you bring down anything. And I didn't do that. That's how easy it is to forget. So it's 5 is less than or equal to b. Okay, so can 5 be B? Could it have that value? Yes, because of the inequality, the equals right here. So we find 5 and we color it in because B could be 5. And it needs to be, ooh, and there's something else I didn't do too. I'm getting in a rush because school's almost over. I left my variable on the left-hand side, which is okay if you still ask yourself or tell yourself B is greater than 5. So if it's greater than 5, could 6 be greater than 5? Yeah. Could 4 be greater than 5? No. So you know it's going to go this way. But because my variable is not on the left-hand side, it's not going to go the direction of the inequality. But I can flip it all and do B is greater than equal to 5. Okay, I just didn't flip it. So this one I just kind of messed up on. Sorry, just getting in a hurry. But there you go. It's that easy to make mistakes. Okay, I'll try to hurry, get some more in. So number 9 is 167 is less than 6 plus 7. If I make any more mistakes and I don't catch it, let me know. I'm just trying to hurry. That often gets us in trouble. Okay, so I need to distribute. So 167 less than 6 plus. I have 7 times 2 be 14. 7 times a negative 7 would be negative 49R. Then I'm going to combine anything that I can. So my 6 and my 14 I can combine. 167 is less than 6 plus 14 would be 20. Bring down your negative 49R. And then I need to get my whole numbers together. So I have to bring 20 over to this side. If it's a positive 20, I need to subtract 20. That cancels out. This becomes 167 minus 20 is 147 is less than negative 49R. To get R off of the negative 49, I need to do the opposite of what it is doing, and it's multiplying. I need to divide by negative 49. And what did I just do? I divided by a negative, so I'm not going to forget this time, and flip my sign. So after I flip my sign, this cancels out, and I'm left with R. 147 divided by a negative 49 becomes a negative 3. And I need to flip everything to get R on the left-hand side. So R is less than negative 3. Okay, so let's graph it. R is less than negative 3. Can R be 3? Or can R be a negative 3? No.
Ethan Acock, if you're still in the building, please come by the office. Ethan Acock.
It cannot be a negative 3. So I circle it. My variable's on the left-hand side. It's got to be less than. It's negative 4 less than negative 3, or is negative 2 less than negative 3? Negative 4 is. It's smaller. And again, my variable's on my left-hand side, so the arrow goes the way of the inequality. Okay, whoops, wrong paper. Number 10. We have 5 times 6 plus 3R plus 7 is greater than or equal to 127. We're going to distribute again. 5 times 6 is 30. 5 times 3 is 15R plus 7 greater than or equal to 127. I need to combine all my terms that I can, so my whole numbers will combine. 30 plus 7 would be 37 plus 15r is greater than equal to 127. Now then, I want to get my number, my whole number on the opposite side because I want r by itself. So I need to subtract 37 from both sides. What you do to one side, you must do to the other side. That cancels out. I bring down my 15r is greater than equal to. If I have a positive 127 and I'm going to subtract 37, I get 90. And then I need to get r by itself. I need to do the opposite, and it's multiplying, so we're going to divide. So r is greater than equal to 90 divided by 15 is 6. The variable is on my left-hand side, so I leave it. I don't flip anything. I come to graph it, and we have r is greater than equal to 6. Can r be 6? Yes, it can. So I'm going to color it in. And so r is greater than or equal to 6. So it's equal 6, and r is greater than. Is 7 greater than or is 5 greater than? 7 is. So the arrow is going to go this way. And it's also the way of the inequality and the variables on the left-hand side. It's always a way to double check yourself. Okay, let's do number 11. I'm going to squeeze it on this piece of paper. Number 11. I have negative 8x plus 2x minus 16 is less than negative 5x plus 7x. I'm sorry, I'm squeezing it in. These markers bleed through, so I can't really change papers. And flip it over. I ran out of notebook paper. So I want to combine my like terms. So I have a negative 8x and a positive 2x. That becomes a negative 6x because the two positives is going to cancel out two negatives. Minus 16 is less than, and I can combine my negative 5x and my positive 7x. And because my positive is the higher sign, my answer is going to be positive, and I simply subtract them because 5 cancels out, 5 negatives cancel out 5 positives. So I'm going to be left with 2x. And then I want to combine my variables. So I need to get this x over here. I need to cancel it out by adding 6x. Add 6x. So again, there's your imaginary line. You have to do the same thing to each side. This cancels out. A negative 16 is less than. If you have 2x plus 6x, it will be 8x. And then I need to get 8 off of x. It's multiplying, so I need to divide by both sides. So a negative 16 divided by 8 is going to be a negative 2 is less than x. Okay, we want the variable on the left-hand side, so I'm going to flip everything. It reads x is greater than negative 2. X is greater than negative 2. So we go to graph it. And it's x is greater than negative 2. Can x be 2? Can x be a negative 2? No. So you're going to leave it open. And you want it greater than negative 2. Is negative 1 greater than negative 2? Yeah. and also our variables on the left-hand side, so the inequality points to the direction of the arrow. All right, last one. Okay, 12. -1, -6x, -6, greater than -11, -7x. Okay, let's combine some things. Over here, I can combine my numbers of -1 and a -6. Becomes a -7. And then I'm going to bring down my -6x is greater than -11, -7x. So if I have a choice here, I can bring over my x or I can bring over my whole numbers. But remember, we want the x, we want the variable on the left-hand side. So I'm going to bring 7x to the left. So I'm going to add 7x. That cancels out. And my sign stays the same. It's a -11 left over here. I have -7. And then I have a -6 and a +7x. So it's going to be a +1x. Let's get my 7 to the other side. To get it over there, I need to add 7. And it's understood that x equals 1x. So I'm not going to bring down the 1 because it's understood. So if I have a -11 plus 7, you're going to be left with a -4. So again, you need to subtract the difference and keep the sign of the larger number. And my variable's on my left-hand side. So let's graph it. X is greater than -4. Can x be -4? No. So I'm going to circle it. And it's greater than. So is -3 greater than -4 or is -5 greater than -4? -3 is. So we're going to, and again, the inequality sign points to the right. Our variable's on the left, so the arrow goes to the right. I hope I didn't make any mistakes. If I did, let me know. You can leave comments on Google Classroom. Hope it wasn't confusing. I hope that you understand it. Let me know if the video helps.